Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting in order. Will you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, let's please start with a roll call.
Council President Perez.
Here.
Councilmember Prince.
Here.
Councilmember McIrvin.
Here.
Councilmember O'Halloran.
Here.
Councilmember Rivera.
Here.
Councilmember Alverson.
Here.
Councilmember Vaughn.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, she's here. Roll call, Mr. Mayor, all present.
All right, thank you. We're going to start off tonight with a couple of public hearings. The first public hearing will be street vacation petition for South Tillicum Street and Alley and South Tobin Street.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
before we begin the public hearing, may I really quickly address, I want to make sure that it's fully clear and transparent that my spouse is a board member for the Renton School District, which is the petitioner here. And as such, while I don't believe there is a direct conflict of interest, I don't have any financial gain or personal benefit in the outcome of this decision, but simply for the appearance of fairness, I wish to recuse myself from this process for this evening. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So, if that's all good, I'll excuse myself.
All right.
I'll be back.
Thank you. And let's see here. We have Stephanie Ray, Property Service Specialty, presenting. Stephanie.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council President, Council members. We are here for a public hearing on street vacation petition VAC-26-001, right-of-way South Tillicum Street and Alley and South Tobin Street. Petitioner, Renton School District number 403. Background: the petition was verified on March 18th, 2026. Signatures: pursuant to state and city code, more than 2/3 of the abutting owners must sign the petition. This was signed by the owner of 73% of the lineal frontage for Tillicum Street/Alley and 95% for South Tobin Street. Right-of-way: the vacation petition is to vacate approximately 15,210 square feet of right-of-way along South Tillicum Street and Alley and 48,427 square feet along South Tobin Street. The right-of-way is located South Tillicum Street and Alley from Shattuck Avenue South to Logan Avenue South and South Tobin Street from Shattuck Avenue South to Logan Avenue South. There are private and public utilities in the right-of-way, including Comcast Fiber, PSC underground gas and electric, city water main, and city wastewater mains. The Renton School District will be reconstructing Renton High School and expanding the existing campus, including renovating the existing 1931 high school building and IKEA Performing Arts Center, and constructing a new 310,000 square foot classroom building and 3 small accessory buildings. The project, approved in 2026, separate from this present street vacation petition, under land use application LUA 25-000343, was for preliminary and final planned urban development approval, a conditional use permit, and lot combination. As part of the project, Renton School District will dedicate approximately 62,000 square feet in total along Airport Way, Logan Avenue South, Shattuck Avenue South, South 2nd Street, and the west segment of South Tobin Street to the city at no cost. In addition to the dedication, the school district will be completing frontage improvements, including new sidewalk, street trees, and ADA improvements. This public hearing is for the right-of-way vacation petition, which is a transfer of ownership. Here is an overview of the approved plan for the campus expansion. And another diagram of the plan, including some descriptions. The location is, the petition proposes to vacate the following right-of-way: South Tillicum Street and Alley from Shattuck Avenue South to Logan Avenue South, and South Tobin Street from Shattuck Avenue South to Logan Avenue South. The right-of-way is located in the northeast quarter of Section 18, Township 23 North, Range 5 East in the city of Renton. Here is an aerial view of the vacation areas. Staff review. The vacation petition included a brief explanation of the purpose and long-term effect of the requested right-of-way vacation. In summary, provide a campus of similar size and facility as other Renton School District high schools and other regional high schools, preserve the IKEA Performing Arts Center and historic 1930s high school building, provide competition-sized fields and sports facilities consistent with modern high school campuses, create a cohesive and functional campus and learning environment to serve Renton students for another 100 years. The vacation petition was circulated to various city departments and outside agencies for comment. Easements will be required and will be obtained during the construction phase. Overall, there were no objections to the vacation petition. Staff recommendation. The Community and Economic Development Department recommends that council approve the petition subject to the following conditions. Easements for public and private utilities are required and shall be obtained during construction, and that compensation be set and the street vacation ordinance be passed after construction of the project commences. Next steps. Hear public testimony tonight. After the close of the public hearing, council may either approve or deny the vacation petition. If council approves the petition, staff will review the appraisal submitted by petitioner. Once the appraisal has been reviewed and construction on the project commences, staff will return to council with recommendation for compensation and council will set the amount. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any questions by staff at this point? All right, next up, we do have people signed up for public comment on this public hearing. I want to remind everyone that all address must be marked to the council as a whole. When I call your name, please step up to the podium, give your name and city of residence for the record. You'll have 3 minutes. Please keep an eye on the little light in front of you. When the timer turns yellow, please start wrapping up your comments. And first up is Zach Moore.
Hello, Zach Moore, resident of Renton. I'm here today as a longtime resident and current Renton resident, or current longtime area resident and current resident of Renton, and the descendant of grandparents who fled Germany to escape the Holocaust. We know now that the concentration camps synonymous with the Holocaust began as detention centers for undesirables. At the end of World War II, many German citizens claimed to be ignorant of the horrors occurring in these nearby concentration camps. In response, American generals marched these civilians through the camps so they could not credibly deny what had happened there. We are once again building camps for people deemed undesirable by the worst among us, and have already received numerous reports of crimes against humanity. Overcrowding, insufficient bathroom facilities, insufficient bedding, insufficient heat and air conditioning, insufficient nutrition and access to medical care, physical and sexual abuse, including reports of women and teenage girls becoming pregnant as a result, the deaths from medical neglect, and the flat-out murder of detainees. There has been little to no oversight of these facilities, and even members of Congress have been denied access. The record of history is clear. The contemporary record is clear. Do not allow ICE to open or operate facilities within Renton city limits. We will not be able to plead ignorance this time. Please support the moratorium. Thank you.
Thank you. For the record, Zach, I apologize. I have my sheets backwards here. Your testimony was up for the next public hearing, and you're welcome to come back up and give us 3 more minutes after it. So,
Thank you.
all right. Thank you. So, the next speaker is Angie Lulaney. Angie?
Good evening. My name is Angie Laulainen, and I'm a City of Renton resident. First, I would ask that you approach the public hearing with an open mind and sincerely consider all comments made before making a decision. The comments of those attending this meeting do have merit. As representatives to the citizens of Renton, your duty is to take all comments into consideration in a public hearing such as this. You have no obligation to Renton School District to give them these streets, regardless of their expectations or promises made. Please truly consider all that we have to say. Now, when you look at the design plans proposed for Tobin Street, You will notice that in the school district's completed design, South Tobin is still a through street. It runs unbroken east to west. Their proposal states that South Tobin is proposed to be rebuilt in a slightly different alignment. You can see in their graphic that indeed the street runs through without stopping, but has extra shrubberies on the edges and a path crossing it. The school district wants to be able to drive through here without other traffic, but as evidenced by their own design, South Tobin can very well be maintained as a through street and also shared with the public. I'm attaching my comments from February 24th, 2025, regarding the history of South Tobin and Tillicum streets for your reference. I commented about the history of the land there, specifically about how Tillicum Road is the Chinook word for friend or family, and how Henry Tobin and later his widow, Diana Smithers, had shared their land with the Native Americans who worked there. They allowed them to live on the land, and Diana even chased off government agents who came to move the Native Americans off the property. Now, the legacy of the school district and the city is to run all the neighbors out, and even to keep the public off the very roads that were named to honor the first settlers to the city. Vacationing South Tobin and gifting it to the school district adds no educational value to the design. It will not raise test scores. It will not improve attendance or provide teachers with in-service opportunities. No. But one reason the school district wants this street is because they promised Renton citizens 40 acres for a new school. They want to add this to their acreage count. This is a want, not a need. The school district can revise their plans as they already have done many times over. They have a lot of money that was allocated for this project in which they planned to purchase 40 acres but did not. They are not hurting for money, so they can handle it. They can even build a pedestrian bridge if they want, where they have drawn in a little path over the street. There is no obligation for you to give them the streets. Ever since May of 2023, when the city and the school district first met to discuss the Renton High School neighborhood destruction project, we have been waiting. Many citizens have been waiting for Renton City Council to listen and to stand up for us. Ever since then, we have come to you over and over again, asking that you listen and do something for your citizens. The streets belong to the city and the public. Now is the time to recognize your constituents and give value to what they are saying. The design of the school district shows Tobin, South Tobin as a through street. They still have their ball fields and their new buildings without owning the street. It should be shared to allow public access. It should be shared in the spirit of our city's history. It should not be vacationed and given to Renton School District. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next up is Ronald Bensley.
Ronald Bensley, Renton resident. I speak on this vacation petition in opposition. My basis, to give an analogy to begin, any community relies on easy flow, smooth flow of transportation. That's important for workers, for parents, for business people, for emergency services. The reality is right now that area primarily has traffic on Airport Road, and I keep calling it Airport Way. And the problem is 5 years, 10 years out, as the population grows, particularly on the hill west of us and up in Skyway, we're going to have more and more pressure on that as traffic funnels through. Having Tobin and these other routes available as a relief valve when there are backup situations or repairs is vital, just as for a body, having all of the arteries available. You have roads, you have thoroughfares, you have boulevards, you have freeway off-ramps, on-ramps. Those are all important to the conduct of commerce, to commercial deliveries, and to persons going to and from. The school district has their objectives and they have theirs. My concern for you is that you've mentioned to us before that this matter is the school district's jurisdiction as far as what they do with their project. And as such, I respectfully remind you that the public interest, that of citizens at large and future residents of Renton, is what's before you. I'm deeply concerned about the traffic issues that will get worse and worse when we get rid of one of the few through streets through that part of downtown Renton. I would remind you also that There's an old analogy, it's a song, of course, the Fleetwood Mac song, "Don't stop thinking about tomorrow. Don't stop, it'll soon be here." I don't say this just as a lyrical side comment. We don't know 10 years from now how congested that area is going to be. Taking out that bit, those roads, the easement here, does a huge disservice to future Renton city councils, future Renton mayors, future Renton residents. I would strongly encourage you to not proceed to pass this matter. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Next up is Sarah Becker.
Good evening. My name is Sarah Becker. I am a Renton resident. I'm here in opposition of the closure of Tobin Street. I would ask that you recognize the impact that closing South Tobin Street would have on our community and the traffic flow in the city. Tobin Avenue is not only a historically significant street, it is a critical east-west corridor. If Tobin is closed before an alternate route to travel through into downtown Renton has been identified, there is no doubt there will be significant traffic backups every single time there is an accident on Airport Way. I appeal to you to consider delaying the closure of Tobin until South 2nd Street has been turned into a two-way street, as the City of Renton has identified it as an upcoming project. Allowing Tobin to remain until South 2nd Street opens as a two-way corridor would help mitigate the foreseeable traffic nightmares that will occur with the elimination of such an important route as Tobin. Again, I request you consider the impact of the street closure, not only on our local community, but also those that visit Renton. It would be judicial to wait until the infrastructure is built to accommodate two-way traffic on South 2nd Street before considering a closure of Tobin, a critical route in the downtown core. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next up is Randy Corman.
Good evening. It's very nice to see you all again. My name is Randy Corman. I'm a Renton resident and former 28-year council member. I want to touch on current traffic, an example of Renton's past experience closing an active street, and the ongoing risk of Tobin being necessary if the FAA decides Renton's runway has to get longer. So first, regarding traffic, our downtown is obviously already divided by a river, a railroad, a freeway, an airport, and a lake. And there's few residents that think we need to close more streets. There's only 2 streets that currently carry traffic from east to west in the northern 1.45 miles of our downtown, and South Tobin is one of those 2 streets. Tobin provides important redundancy to Airport Way during accidents, closures, and traffic jams, which have been frequent in recent years. South Tobin also gives motorists important access to local businesses without having to make left turns onto and off of arterials, so residents don't have to circle to try and get to their destinations. The traffic study that was submitted by the school district, it's thorough in many ways, but it just doesn't delve deeply into the issues of redundancy during accidents and closures, or the safety and convenience of drivers that don't want to make these dangerous left turns onto arterials. Then the school district is sizing Renton high for almost a 30% increase in population in this area. So the traffic we're seeing now, imagine that being increased by 30% as you talk about closing one of the 2 roads. So moving on, no one has a right to close a street just because they acquired the land on both sides of it. In 1971, PACCAR had acquired land on both sides of Hauser Way North, and then convinced the city council at that time to vacate the section of street between their 2 properties. That 2 decades later, once I was on the city council, we're having terrible congestion in North Renton, and there was enormous regret that that street had been given up. We did proceed to come up with a new bypass to replace Hauser Way. We call it the Hauser Way bypass. It required a tunnel under a off-ramp from I-405. It cost us about $11 million at the time, which would be about $30 million today. But construction like that would probably be $60 or $70 million. We were able to fix, that they vacated Hauser, but we don't want to have to be doing the Tobin Way bypass sometime in the future. Renton's comprehensive plan speaks in numerous places about providing redundancy, maintaining a street grid, not having dead-ended streets. There's several policies that cover that, and there's really no indication that you waive these policies for a baseball field. It's just not in there. Finally, the threat of the airport extension. So as a reminder, in 2019, the FAA was identifying the fact that Boeing was projecting they were going to have more than 500 operations in a year, and they said we were going to have to extend our runway. We hired, all of us together, we hired master planners to come up with how we would resolve it. The extension was going to be 600 to 1,000 feet, and it was going to, several of the master plan concepts were going to take out Airport Way entirely and put all the traffic onto Tobin. We pushed back on that, and many of you will remember, we even hired an aviation attorney. I was deeply involved in it because I'd had an aviation background, but we were losing that argument. The only reason we didn't have to extend the runway was because of COVID and because of the 737 MAX issues, Boeing operations dropped and the FAA backed away from it. Well, happily, Boeing operations are picking back up. They're ramping up. We've also introduced new jet traffic, business jets at the airport, and those operations are soon going to hit 500 again. And when they do, they're going to be right back to saying, oh, we need to shift all the traffic from Airport Way onto Tobin. But we will have, if it's been vacated, it's not there as an option anymore. So I guess with that, I'll turn it over to the next speaker. But thank you. It's nice seeing everybody.
All right, thank you. Next up is Matt Handy.
Hello, good evening. Matt Hanby, Renton resident. Thank you for your time this evening. Thank you for holding the hearing. Yeah, I'm echoing, kind of repeating what other people have said about the idea that vacating South Tobin, to me, is not a good idea. I like Sarah Becker's idea of postponing that consideration until 2nd Street is converted. But as a general traffic concept, I don't think having that through street changed to not being a through street anymore makes good sense. Airport Way is the most northern east-west crossing from Rainier over to Logan. Like, there's the lake and there's the airport. There's a perimeter road, but it's really not, I don't think it's even a city street. And it goes, I think you have to go all the way almost up to the end of the airport before you can actually hit Rainier. So the next, redundant street, as Randy said, is Tobin, right, east to west. I take it all the time. I go to Safeway and I don't want to go onto Rainier or backtrack through downtown. So I go just east of the high school, and then I can take Tobin and go over to Logan. So I think again that when you have a city grid with so few streets that go east to west, to close one of them would be a short-sighted approach. I know 3 minutes isn't a long time, so I don't have a lot else to say other than right now, if you close Tobin, the next through street would be either South 2nd or South 3rd. So you'd have to go 3 or 4 blocks farther down if Airport Way is closed to get across town. So again, you've got Airport Way. In my opinion, you should keep Tobin open. Perhaps that's as a compromise, having South 2nd Street, waiting until South 2nd Street becomes a two-way street would mitigate that issue, but you still have to realize people have to drive basically 3 blocks if Airport Way isn't available. So for those reasons, I hope you will reconsider the vacation of the street. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Bob Baker.
Bob Baker, unincorporated Kane County. I'm here to oppose the vacating of Tobin. We've heard a lot of good ideas tonight, but one of the ideas that stands out the most is that do not vacate until the east-west South Second is completed. Envision this: if you're on Rainier Avenue and the road is completely blocked due to an accident on Airport Road, you have an emergency and you're stuck and there is no way to get off. The only way you can get there is to hit 3rd Avenue. And when you hit 3rd, it will also be gridlocked. So basically you're sentencing the city of Renton, if there is any accidents, and there is plenty of accidents on Airport Road, you're sentencing the city to a gridlock often. And not only does it involve citizens of Renton, but it also involves fire, safety, police. It involves everyone. And for that reason, I ask that if you do vacate, please wait until you've completed the work on 2nd to make it an east-west. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next up is Cheryl Freeze.
Number 2, please. Cheryl Freeze, Renton resident. The first thing I want to say is thank you to Ryan McGurvin. I have a lot of respect for the recusing, and I appreciate that. The first thing I want to say is the solution is not us supporting what happened to the 32 homes and 8 businesses and how the Renton School District used the threat of eminent domain again to demolish these homes and businesses. This solution is also not in support of how the Renton School District used a bond to get the support of voters and their money to identify new property and then pivoted without being transparent to the voters who supported the initial bond, and instead used that bond to demolish 32 homes and 8 businesses. Having said that, what I am in support of is what you've heard already from a lot of people today, and that is not vacating Tobin until South 2nd is converted into a 2-way. And I am in support of this as a viable solution that will also potentially allow, if necessary, for Tobin to be vacated for the expansion in the future. I agree right now that Tobin needs to remain open and accessible to all. So 3 points I want to talk about: driver behavior, small businesses, and consistency. I regularly traveled more than 90 times to Madison Park to be on site with a client of mine, and because I like water, I went through the Seward Park, Lake Washington Way. And I happen to have to go the route where Bush School is located. And as many of you know, they have actually expanded their school as well to cross a major street. And that's a street used by people to get to Leschi, Madison Park, or Madrona. I knew that I would experience students crossing at several different times of the day, and I planned for that. Just as drivers who need to use Tobin due to an accident or issue on airport will come to expect the same. They will have to wait for students to cross. And as a result, over time, some of the drivers will find alternate routes and start using 2nd when that becomes a 2-way. And we, Renton, have said that we are a small business friendly city. And I think we're forgetting about the businesses on Tobin that are going to be impacted by vacating that part of the street. Similar to the outcome of the hearing on the public hearing on Logan 6, if you all recall, it was a 100, 1, 2, and 3 bedroom apartment development approved for 3rd and Logan. What was really interesting at the public hearing was it was stated that a traffic study was to be conducted after the complex was built. And that was to be done in order to get an understanding of the impact to traffic on Logan and North 3rd, not
just speculation. So let's be consistent. After the school's expanded, conduct another traffic study of Tobin to get a clearer understanding, supported by data and facts on whether Tobin should stay open or be vacated. Thank you for your consideration.
All right, thank you. Next up is Tristan Koshin.
Tristan Koshin, downtown Renton resident. I have a few comments tonight about the street vacation and why I'm against it, at least in its current form. A lot of people tonight have talked about vehicle access, which is very important on Tobin, but I also want to discuss this from the perspective of a person who does not drive, and there are many people in this city that do not, especially high school students, and I was one of them that walked to Renton High School. Tobin is an important east-west street for bicycles and pedestrians. It's the only quiet east-west street in that area. Your only other alternatives are either Airport Way or South 2nd Street. Tobin is also a designated bike route in the city as well. I'm working under the assumption that the high school will gate it off at night, and that means also losing it as a safe place to walk and bike instead of Airport Way and South 2nd Street. I'm also concerned about emergency vehicle access if the high school puts in speed bumps and gates as well. I request a condition on giving the street up to be maintaining of non-motorized accessibility and emergency vehicle access. And I also like what other people have said about keeping Tobin until South 2nd Street is converted, because once South 2nd Street is converted to two-way, then we can have something that can be an alternative to Airport Way when Airport Way has problems as well. But definitely keeping Tobin as a bicycle and pedestrian route, that can still be maintained and have the high school hold on to that street. You could put in a shared use path in that right of way. A lot of places will do this where they will close off a street, but still allow bicycles and pedestrians to go through. Seattle's done this a lot of places with their neighborhood greenway program. They will close off through access for vehicles, keep it a quiet residential side street, which is kind of what Tobin has been most of the time when there's not something going on Airport Way, but they'll maintain bicycle and pedestrian access. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, that's the last of the public comment. What's the wish of the council? Do we have correspondence?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I received 3 pieces of correspondence. One from Amelia Peacock from Renton, Nora Schultz from Renton, and a Margaret Brower from Renton, all opposing the street vacation petition. This correspondence was forwarded to council and the administration earlier today.
Thank you. All right, what's the wish of the council at this
Mr.
point?
Mayor?
Yes, Councilman.
I do have an inquiry based off some of the public comments, and I do see Martin in the back. And I was curious, as Chair of Transportation, I do have concerns around Tobin Street and the east to west transportation. And I just wanted to see if Martin would be willing to answer some questions around that, because with those concerns being brought up, I do want to know what the timeline is in terms of that 2nd Street conversion, because that does seem to make sense, and a lot of the concerns that were raised especially make sense. And Tristan, you did a great job bringing it home at the end there, so thank you. Martin, thank you so much. Could you answer some of those concerns for us?
Sure. Which concerns?
Regarding the increase of traffic, and we'll see data around how much Airport Way either sees a lane closure or sees inaccess due to accidents, the east to west increase of traffic, closing Tobin, everything we've just heard in terms of public comment regarding waiting until there's that two-way street conversion. And also, if you could tell me the timeline of that two-way street conversion, if that's even in the pipeline.
So in terms of accidents, based on relatively short notice we took a look at the accidents that occurred on Airport Drive and Rainier, between Rainier and Logan. There was about 45 accidents over the last 2 years. There were 16 of them that occurred between Shattuck and the Logan intersection, and there's about 29 that occurred between Shattuck and Rainier, most of them up by Rainier and by the Rainier intersection. So that's over the last 2 years. Most of these seem to be side swipes. There's been a few rear end collisions, driver inattention. I couldn't go from the data to be able to determine how many lane closures occurred at that particular time, because it didn't show that. All I could report was the number of accidents, which was not substantial based on the volume of traffic we saw. The question in terms of Tobin, as I understand it, and based on the presentation that was given, Tobin is only closed from Shattuck to Logan. It would be open from Rainier all the way down to Shattuck, where it then would be available on Shattuck over to Airport Drive. So the section we're only concerned about if there is an accident, is that section between Shattuck and Logan. And as I said, we've only seen 16 accidents there in the last 2 years, so not a substantial number. In terms of the conversion of 2nd and 3rd Street from one-way to two-way traffic, it is on our work plan to move forward in that direction. We've got to first start doing the traffic studies, and then once we finish the studies, then start moving in towards the design and then the construction of that. So I assume at a minimum, it's at least 3 to 5 years before we'll see that conversion occur.
Thank you, Martin. I appreciate it. Mr. Mayor?
Thank you. Yes.
I have one more question.
Okay.
And I do apologize because I probably should have this in the deep parts of my cerebellum, but I don't quite have that deep in my memory bank. When do we know, when will we see the construction, like what is the construction timeline for the Renton expansion? Do we know that by chance when we're going to see like groundbreaking?
Renton High School?
Yeah, the Renton High School expansion from groundbreaking to completion. Do we have any idea at all in any way, shape, or form?
I have no idea. No.
None?
No.
Okay. I thank you so much, Mr. Mayor, for
that
allowing me
in front of me here.
No, but thank you. I appreciate it.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I move we close the public hearing.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilmember Prince, second by Councilmember Albertson, that we close the public hearing. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. All right, public hearing is closed. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I move that we approve the street vacation.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilmember Prince, second by Councilmember Albertson, that we approve the street vacation. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I do want to have a discussion on this because I am concerned around the traffic impacts of this happening and construction. And also now hearing that we might be seeing that conversion happening in the next 3 to 5 years. I'm wondering if maybe as putting a quick pause on this until we can really get that in accordance with the two-way conversion as has been requested by the public comment would be more effective based off of just traffic impacts, pedestrian, bike safety, everything that else was brought up. I'm just curious in terms of a conversation here on the dais with my amazing colleagues on the openness to that in terms of needing to do the vacation right now versus waiting until we can get our street converted.
I'd ask our city attorney, I believe this is up or down.
Thank you.
Tonight is actually not an approval, but it's a recommendation to proceed with the appraisal. And I don't believe there is a strict requirement for the decision being made in tonight's meeting. If you wanted to table
It comes back to us. I thought it comes back to
and
us
the last
after the
decision
appraisal.
so this is the
just
preliminary
procedural.
approval that brings it back. The decision to vacate does not happen until an ordinance passes.
So this is purely procedural. Because Councilmember Rivera, I have similar questions. If this wasn't procedural, then I would be right where you're at.
I totally appreciate that. And I think it's really good for us to be clear, especially for everyone who showed up today and spoke so eloquently and informed regarding this very important issue. And so just to understand my more senior colleague here to explain to me, when it comes to this procedure, us to pass it does not mean that we are signing it down. We're just approving the appraisal process, and then the actual approving of the potential selling will happen in a couple weeks.
I don't know if it's a couple of weeks, but it'll come back. It'll come back.
I would say typically this is the part where we do approve the petition to move forward. So it's approval of the petition or denial of the petition. The next steps are the appraisal, and then when we come back to the council, it's for compensation, to set compensation.
Thank you. Now, I'm so sorry. Yeah, I'm a little confused.
I thought it was the other way around as well. Okay.
Mayor?
Yes, Councilor.
Maybe this is a city attorney.
That is our typical process that we've done on these street vacations in the past.
Maybe this is a question to the city attorney as far as any amendments. Is it strictly yes or no? Correct? Whereas there's no amendment possible.
You can make amendments to a motion.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilmember.
Thank you, Councilmember Van. I would actually be open to an amendment for this to be timed more with the Second Street two-way conversion process. And so putting it off until we can get a better timeline from the school district in terms of their construction process and timing it better with our two-way. And so if there being a timely amendment to put this on hold until we can get a better timeline from our school district partners in terms of construction, I would be open to that.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilmember.
I have no problem with that, but I do need to find out from CED staff, what does that do in terms of the appraisal process and work plan?
The Renton School District has already submitted an appraisal. So the plan was that staff would review the appraisal, and then once construction commences, we would go back to Transportation Committee and with a recommendation for compensation, and then move to the ordinance process. But we really did not want to bring that until construction begins because it can cause issues.
Yeah, impacts the design. So without the street vacation, the design would need to be modified.
I'm sorry. I do. Guys.
Without the street vacation being approved or processed, the design would need to be come back to review because this street vacation is dependent on the design that was submitted and approved.
Thank you.
Any other questions at this time?
So Mayor,
Yes, Councilmember.
as a recap, then I think there was a motion made by the council member
No motion made yet.
or amendment to.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, there was.
Made a motion to time it with the two-way conversion.
No, she didn't. She said she
Oh,
would
there's no-
be opposed to
Talked
that.
about having an emotion, but there was no motion.
Could you
there was
kindly
no
make
second.
the motion?
Mr. Mayor, may I make the motion of an amendment, please? Or may I move? Thank you. I have to say the exact right words. My apologies. I move for the amendment to put off the vacation until we can get a better timeline of construction in alignment with our second week two-way conversion.
Second.
Is there a second? Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All right,
Mayor?
yes.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add in terms of public comment and why I second the motion, I think it's important because once, excuse me, once we give up our city rights and the streets, it's kind of one and done, right? So kind of like when we're talking about the VFW parking spaces, even though we have rights to it, right? Things that we can do. Given the traffic situation, our struggle with the airport and the potential for the increase in flights, this is why I think it's important and wise and prudent for us to take pause and really consider the amendment.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor. Any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay?
Nay.
All right, nays carry. So we are back to the original motion.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just to approve the vacation.
What's that? Yeah.
The original motion was to approve the
Approve the
vacation.
vacancy. Yes, exactly. Any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay?
Nay.
All right, the ayes have it. Okay, thank you. We're going to move on next. We have another public hearing, moratorium related to detention facilities and their associated transportation. We get the other council member, please. And food service operations.
Point of information, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
I'm so sorry. If it was 3 nays and 3 yays, was that not tied?
3 nays? Who were the 3 nays?
Councilmember Howland said nay.
Councilmember Holler and myself and Councilmember
nay or
Graham. Yes,
yay?
it was a 3-by-3 tie. This is not complete.
Point of order.
Point of order. I said point of order. I did say point of information, point of order. I did say that.
Mayor?
Yeah.
I think this, perhaps you can solicit assistance from the city attorney. I think recollection, perhaps the mayor has the final vote, but I'm not sure. I can't remember the city rule. When there's a tie.
I believe that's right in the event of a tie.
We're a tie? Oh, so I get to vote?
Yes, sir.
Aye.
I'm not the city attorney. I'm just asking you for guidance.
Okay, next.
All right. So we're moving on to the moratorium. related to detention facilities and their associated transportation and food service operations.
Did he vote?
And presenting is Matt Herrera, Planning Director.
Thank you, Mayor Pavoni, Council President Perez, members of City Council. For the record, my name is Matt Herrera. I'm the Planning Director in the Community Economic Development Department. Again, tonight we are here to discuss a moratorium related to the detention facilities and their associated transportation and food services operation. This is a public hearing. By way of background, on Monday, March 9th, 2026, the City Council passed Ordinance 6187. And what that ordinance did was implement a 6-month moratorium on the acceptance or processing of applications for the change of use, establishment, expansion, or development of facilities for the detention, transportation, or food services for people detained by local, state, or federal law enforcement. Now, there are several state statutes that authorize cities to adopt moratoria, one of those being the Growth Management Act. And the city is authorized to adopt moratoria up to 6 months, provided a public hearing is held within 60 days of adoption, and that's what we're here to do tonight. This is strictly a public hearing tonight. There are no staff recommendations or analysis provided, and I will cede to the council. Thank you.
All right, any questions? All right, we are on to public comment. Once again, I want to remind everyone that audience comment must be addressed to the council as a whole. When I call your name, please step up to the podium, give your name and city of residence for the record. And I was just reminded that public comment is allowed 5 minutes per person. Please keep
Mr. Mayor.
What's that?
Mr. Mayor, can I clarify that?
Yes, please.
During the last process, I did set the timer to 5 minutes for everybody.
Yes, everybody had 5 minutes the last time around too. We didn't stop anybody from talking. Let's see here. And the first up, Zach, you're more than welcome to come back and give your comments again if you'd like. All right, thank you. Next up is Leanan Shia. Leanan. Shia is last name, S-H-E-A. Nope. Mike Westergaard.
Hello, Mr. Mayor, Madam President and Council. Thank you for your time. I'm here to support the continuation of the moratorium to keep the detention centers out of Renton. So let's start with the truth. We cannot trust the criminal administration to comply with the new state laws around our data. Not this one. Not under Trump. The idiot king of corruption and malice, and not under an untrustworthy administration backed by Peter Thiel and the Epstein class. What does compliance even look like here? In the city of Renton, going to sue the State Department? Do we have the capacity to take the DOJ to bring back an ICE agent who is just following orders and got reassigned? No. Does Renton PD have the capacity to fully audit and regularly monitor who's accessing the database for FLOK, despite the transparency that Renton PD has created, which I do applaud? This is a moment to stand with the communities under attack by this hateful regime currently occupying the White House. Now is the time to refuse ICE any opportunity to get in by refusing to operate the system. No FLOK, no detention centers in Renton. ICE is already here, kidnapping people from their homes, bus stops, and parking lots. Those are the facts. They are here, and we can't hand them any more tools to attack. There are times in history when you have to stop systems because there's no other way. This is one of those times. This isn't about Renton PD. This isn't about the private sector warehouses that are going to rent the property. This is about our community, and this is about agencies running concentration camps where over 50 people have already died since 2025 that can be attributed to them, and a 2-decade high in the history of the agency. We can't allow them any path into our city. I've opposed ICE and attacks on immigrant communities since inception. I didn't support it under Bush. I thought it was gross that Obama became the deporter in chief. But Trump is an acceleration of every worse reactionary tendency of the bipartisan consensus funded by the Epstein class. Whether it's death from austerity or attacks on our most vulnerable, we are in a different era of the nation's project. They've defunded the state, attacked women and trans people's health care, funded their Gestapo more than most of our peer nations' militaries, and they're kidnapping people regardless of status, backed by the Supreme Court and the Kavanaugh stops, and the absolution of Trump from accountability. It's here now. Are we going to fight back or comply? I'm going to stand and fight with my neighbors. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you. Next up is Gabriel Diaz. Gabriel Diaz.
I thought you called.
Wait, sorry. Can you say the name again?
Gabriel Diaz.
Gabrielle. So I was like,
Oh my gosh.
You're next.
I get called Gabriel all the time. That's- Hey folks, my name is Gabriel Diaz, and I'm here today to speak about a moratorium on detention facilities. I think one of the first things got to do is think about the moment we're in right now. Do you know that at least 50 people have died while in ICE detention since January 2025? For context, 26 people died when in ICE detention during the entire Biden administration. While even that number is way too high, seeing almost double that in half the time is incredibly concerning. We are seeing people who are being picked up and put into deplorable conditions that are so bad, GEO Group, who owns the Northwest Detention Center, has continuously refused to let health workers in to check the conditions of the facilities. But we know about what it's like on the inside. People have talked about how the water is undrinkable and dirty, how racism, sexual assault and bias have run rampant. Locally, Mohammed Zahid Chaudhry, a disabled veteran and the husband of Melissa Chaudhry, who ran to represent the city in the Senate, was in ICE detention for months. During this time, he did not receive the proper medical care required, despite arguments from the federal government that he was, until they had to finally admit that he had not seen any of the doctors he needed to see for his health as he was in a wheelchair while he was attempting to serve our country. This is why we have so many people here excited to speak about this. This is why we have so many people here who are asking you to do this. We need people who are willing to stand up and fight for all people. It is very clear this administration has used ICE as its own personal police force to fight back against people it disagrees with. The question is now, will you stand with the people on this city and with the city, or will you stand by and watch your neighbors and the people you represent get taken? I hope for the sake of all of us, you choose wisely. Thank you.
Now it's Gabrielle waiting.
Hello, my name is Gabrielle Weidling. I'm a citizen of Renton. I was here last week. I'm back. Today, I'm also going to be back for general comments, but right now I'm going to talk a little bit about this moratorium. I hope you continue to extend it, and I hope when it's up that you, have another one. Let's not have any detention facilities here in Renton. I think when this proposal was made in March, it was brought up by some members, or at least one of the council, that it was not even maybe necessary because there was no signs that ICE wanted to put a facility here. ICE is putting facilities everywhere. And I think the need for the moratorium just signals, hey, we're not the city to do this business in. So yeah, you should have the moratorium. Let's keep doing it. Let's keep it rolling. No detention facilities here, please.
Stop is John Houston. Not here. All right. Do we have any correspondence?
I received no correspondence on this matter, Mr.
All
Mayor.
right. What is the wish of the council?
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Councilman
Can I
Brown.
start a question?
Yes.
So, Matt, we're currently in our 6-month moratorium, correct?
Correct.
Is there a mechanism for us to extend it while we're in the middle of our 6 months, or do we have to wait till we're at the end?
I would say historically we've extended it at the end. So it started March 9th, approximately in September 9th. We could come back. I believe one of the requirements to come back to extend it another 6 months would be to have a specified work plan on what it is that we're going to do, but I don't believe we can extend it past that second 6-month time period without some kind of ordinance changing the city code.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilmember.
Thank you so much. I appreciate all the work that CE does on all of this. There is something I did want to share just for my colleagues. A number of us went to National League of Cities. I know me and Councilmember Albertson both attended a very informative panel, Immigration Roundtable, Understanding Local Responsibilities. At this incredibly powerful panel, we had the City of Minneapolis Chief of Police speak. If anyone has been watching the news, we know what happened in Minneapolis. The chief of police got a standing ovation from a completely bipartisan group after this conversation. And one of the things that he expressed was not only the 10% increase in 911 calls he saw when ICE came down in their city, not the 2 fatal shootings, not just the 1 non-fatal shooting that got no attention. He talked not just about the prosecutors that resigned or the internal communications and workforce concerns and the detriment to the morale, not only within the city, but within law enforcement. He moved, actually, he talked about how this administration, this fascist regime, is actually going to be moving from surges to bases. A professional in his field, an expert, stating, and we all took notes on this, moving from surges to bases, a more permanent presence with the expansion of warehouses, detention centers across the country as we are seeing. Federal government does not have to follow city zoning laws, as we do know, and that this is one way that we can create political pressure and help regulate, because this particular moratorium doesn't just target federal, it is at all levels of government. Right? And so I just wanted to share that incredible information, because I know not all of us got to sit in on that panel, but if we all got to sit in and listen to that chief of police spoke, I think we would understand how important this is in the moment, not only just for our citizens, for our police force, for everyone that comes to our city. And so I appreciate all the public comments tonight. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I'd like to move the close the public hearing.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilmember Prince, second by Councilmember Perez, that we close the public hearing. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Do we have a motion on this at this point? No. All right.
Till September.
Yep. All right, we're on to administrative report.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Renton River Days is turning 40. Mark your calendars now for a full weekend of festivities, July 24th through the 26th. Events will take place at Liberty Park, the Renton Community Center, Cedar River Park, Coulon, and other locations. The festival will include annual favorite traditions and new events such as River Nights in downtown Renton and a pickleball tournament. Admission to all events are free. Watch for more information at rentonwa.gov/riverdays. As we get closer to summer, the City of Renton is actively recruiting for summer supplemental positions. This is a great step into the labor force for those 16 and older who are looking to learn a skill, meet new people, earn competitive wages, and work towards improving the Renton community. For more information and to apply, please visit rentonwa.gov/careers. May 3 through 9 is Annual Professional Municipal Clerks Week. We recognize and appreciate the essential role of our city clerk's office that they play in ensuring transparency in our operations for the community and serving all aspects of our organization. We also extend our congratulations to our Public Disclosure Program Manager and Deputy City Clerk, Melissa McCain, on receiving the 2026 Washington Municipal Clerks Association Inspiration Award. The award honors individuals who have made a significant impact on the association or a WMCA member within the past year. The City of Renton is preparing its 2027-2028 biennial budget, which guides the services we provide, and community input is essential. Our community-wide budget survey is available through May 13th and can be accessed through rentonwa.gov/budget survey. Some residents may have already received an email or text from our research partner, Recon MR. To participate in the survey, we appreciate the feedback we have received. The survey is available in English, Spanish, Chinese, Vietnamese, Tagalog, and Russian. Information about preventative street maintenance, traffic impact projects, and road closures happening this week can be found at rentonwa.gov/traffic. All projects are weather permitting, unless otherwise noted, they will remain open.
All right, thank you. Next up is public or audience comment, and we do have a few people signed up to speak tonight? I want to remind everyone once again that all comments must be addressed to the council as a whole. When I call your name, please step up to the podium. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. Please give your name and city of address for the record. There's a little timer in front of you. When the light turns yellow, please start wrapping up your comments. And first up is Lenny Shea. Lenny Shea? Still not here. All right. Ellie Robershaw.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Ellie Robertshaw. I'm a Renton resident. Thank you for the opportunity, Mayor and Council, to speak with you. I want to ask you to turn off the 24 FLOK cameras in Renton. I support law enforcement in general, and I support the use of surveillance technology to help them do their job. In some cases, I think it can be very helpful. However, I'm not in favor of just any surveillance, and I think FLOK cameras specifically are dangerous. Even with the safeguards that our city and many others have in place, there are too many instances of ICE gaining access to FLOK camera data illegally and using it to target people for arrest. And not as part of an effort to enforce immigration laws, but instead to intimidate, dehumanize, and destabilize our immigrant communities. These cameras present too much of a risk to our civil rights, especially those of immigrants or those who may be profiled as immigrants, which is a pretty big number of people in Renton. Given the severe risk to the health and safety of those that will be impacted, it's just not worth it. I just don't think we have anything to gain from these cameras versus like all that we could lose knowing what ICE has and continues to do with the FLOK cameras. Also, please don't let any detention centers to be built here. I've watched interviews of people being detained in these places, including children, and there are too many civil and human rights violations to count in those places. Please don't let them be built in Renton. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you. Next up is Wyatt Fitzpatrick.
Hello, my name is Wyatt Fitzpatrick. I live in Fairwood, Renton. I live with my husband and our 3-year-old daughter. And in 2024, Chase Jones drove 112 miles per hour through an intersection and killed 3 people. 2 of them were children. Now, my problem with the FLOK cameras is that we knew that Chase Jones was a dangerous driver. He had, like I said, 2 accidents before the 3rd one, which again killed 3 people, 2 children. Can't stress that enough. And he had no citations from the police those first 2 times. So what makes you think that we want mass surveillance when the police are already not using their resources to actively stop and prevent crimes, when we know that these people perpetrate them? 2 vehicles in 11 months, or 3 vehicles in 11 months. Did I mention that? Yeah, 11 months. And during his trial, he got to go home and await his trial after killing 3 people. And I don't think that a police department or law enforcement department that knows that there is a dangerous person out there and allows them to kill people should have access to our private information and be able to surveil us, because we knew who he was without FLOK cameras. And as someone who, I had my car stolen twice in 1 year, 9 months to the day. It was crazy. It was in White Center, not Renton. But I got them back a few days later. No FLOK cameras were needed. And the biggest argument for FLOK cameras is to protect property. We don't care. We get our stuff back, or, we're not willing to give up our personal information and our privacy to get what amounts to essentially property, And so, also, I'm very nervous, but thanks for listening. And there have been numerous studies that show that 20 to 40% of law enforcement officers commit domestic violence. And FLOK cameras have already been used across the country by police to stalk their partners or wives. And knowing that the lowest amount that these studies have shown is 20%, the lowest amount, most of them say 40%, and these are the people that we know of. And now we want to give them access to find these things. And in 6002, there's 2 things that I would like to point out. One is talking about I'm running out of time. I didn't think I would. One is talking about how they cannot show their cameras directly on protected facilities, churches, schools, whatnot, or the adjacent parking lots. However, if someone wants to know where children are going, it's very easy to know that there's a grocery store across from preschool. You know, it's something that can easily be routed. And they say that they need to have internal investigations against people who use the FLOK system improperly. That's saying that if there is a system of law enforcement which back each other, which they often do, no matter if you support the police or not, we know that they're a club. They're going to support one another. And saying that they're going to leave it up to their coworkers to investigate them is ridiculous. So thank you for your time.
Next up is Gabriel Wilding.
Y'all gonna be sick of me. Gabrielle Weidling, still from Renton. Hello again. So I was here last week. I spoke very briefly about the FLOK cameras because I assumed like we all kind of knew the bad and I could just say bad, not in support, but I guess that's not true. So here we go. Today I sat in the Zoom for the Public Safety Committee because they were talking about ALPRs. And just for the committee as a whole to understand and people here to understand, we're, according to the committee, on the second year of a 2-year contract. So I think that's a perfect opportunity to say, we're not going to renew this. Multiple counselors in that meeting were concerned that SB 6002 restricted usage around sensitive areas like schools, hospitals, houses of worship, that sort of thing, because those are vulnerable areas and we should need more protection there. I think that's backwards, but that's my opinion. I think it's also been proven through data that that's not just an opinion I have, but it's something we have seen borne out, that those are areas that get targeted. Ask my family and friends in the Twin Cities whether or not ICE was invading those spaces, whether or not they were supposed to. They did. So why would we believe FLOK cameras would not be part of that abusive system? It was also pointed out during this committee meeting that there was no hullabaloo raised about the FLOK cameras when they were first put in place. And part of why it's a problem now is because we don't like the Trump administration. I sure don't, but I still didn't like FLOK under Biden. And I'll admit, I missed when these cameras got put in place, or you would have met me a couple years ago when I was here to talk about it then. So I think this response is the idea that these FLOK cameras would not be used by law enforcement in an abusive way assumes good faith actors and good faith actors only to use them. We've seen multiple counts of these being used to stalk people that the police officers know. We've seen multiple counts where these have been used to harm immigrants. We've seen them be used to hunt people who have abortions in places where it's not legal. So I think Renton should be a city that sets the tone for its neighbors. And I think we should not have FLOK cameras in our city. Let's do that. Let's urge our citizens in other cities to follow our lead. Let's not sit back and wait. Let's be the progressive voices moving forward. Thank you.
All right, thank you. That was Leslie Jensen.
Good evening. My name's Leslie Jensen, and I live up in the East Highlands. And I'm here to talk about FLOK as well. And I also watched the Zoom meeting earlier today. And so I thought I would come here and discuss facts because somebody mentioned that the argument against FLOK cameras is based on emotion. So one fact, in 2024, Sedgwick, Kansas Police Chief Lee Nygaard used FLOK safety LPRs in 228 times to track his ex-girlfriend and her new boyfriend's vehicles. He was sentenced to 18 months of probation and lost his police certification. Electronic Frontier Foundation reported in November of 2025 that, quote, more than 50 federal, state, and local agencies ran hundreds of searches through FLOK's national network of surveillance data in connection with protest activity. Nothing to do with immigrants. And I go to protests, so this concerns me. In some cases, law enforcement specifically targeted known activist groups, demonstrating how mass surveillance technology increasingly threatens our freedom to demonstrate. In May of 2024, 404 Media obtained data revealing that the Johnson County Sheriff's Office in Texas conducted a nationwide search of more than 83,000 FLOK APLR cameras in relation to a death investigation of a non-viable fetus. FLOK continues, as of today, to claim that the Sheriff's Office was conducting a missing persons investigation, despite the detective in the case confirming it was in relation to an abortion. FLOK lies. People say just make laws so people can't do that, but unfortunately that doesn't always solve the problem. In 2025, Colorado passed a law banning state and local governments from sharing personal identifying information for immigration enforcement. Ignoring the law, the city of Loveland chose to accept an invitation from CBP to allow CBP access to Loveland's FLOK camera data. I think most people now are aware of the October 2025 report from the UW Center for Human Rights. They revealed that 8 Washington state and law enforcement agencies enabled direct one-on-one sharing of their networks with CBP at some point in 2025 in flagrant violation of RCW 10.93.160. Also, CBP had a backdoor access to AOPRs operated in at least 10 local law enforcement agencies across Washington. FLOK is now going beyond APLR cameras, collecting only license plate numbers. In August of 2025, the ACLU reported that FLOK, quote, is planning to plug its systems into commercial data brokers that offer services such as people lookup. FLOK has long claimed that their LPRs don't collect personally identifiable information, as if license plates can't easily be connected to specific people. That claim has always been bogus, but with their new product, they have made that falsity explicit, boasting that the new product will let police jump from LPR to person. It doesn't matter how much we may trust our local police. The fact is that ALPR data is shared nationwide with more than 5,000 other law enforcement agencies. They can look up whatever they, well, I don't know if they can look up whatever they want, but they can look up across the nation. We're truly becoming a nation watched by Big Brother, and 1984 was a warning, not an instruction manual.
Thank you. All right, next up is Jesus Rivera, and they're virtual.
Mr. Mayor, no one is logged in by that.
Okay. All right. Next up is Emma Foster.
Evening. Good evening, Council. Good evening, Mr. Mayor. So a little about myself. I'm here to oppose the FLOK license plate reader cameras. So I've personally worked in data collection and AI technologies, and specifically this AI technology, which is computer vision. That is actually my background. I am very familiar with these technologies, and I have worked in data collection. I can attest that any information that is sanitized is not appropriately sanitized, ever. I have seen some really gobsmacking amount of information that has been through these analytical files that I have personally created for analysts to do their data annotation on. So when we are saying that it is not personally identifying information, I'm sorry, but that is not true. It can take up least less than 3 pieces of location data points to identify or re-identify an individual. I am very uncomfortable with that idea that 3 data points of my movements can re-identify me, even under sanitized data. To me, FLOK systems and the way that they collect data is a public risk, and a risk not only for intellectual freedoms, which, by the way, I have a master's degree in intellectual freedom. I'm a librarian. I'm not currently a librarian, but that is what my degree is in. I'm very uncomfortable with these systems. There's already been unauthorized access for many of these systems where a children's gymnasium was watched by an individual for hours and hours. I'm sorry, why was a child's gymnasium, children exercising, accessed and watched over and over and over again by this individual. We're not sure who this individual was, but why was it accessed for that amount of time? Please tell me how that relates to public safety, because I am unsure. Further, I am an active Catholic, and I am very uncomfortable with the idea that my movements around my parish in Renton, by the way, I'm a North Renton resident, is being tracked for me to go to church. Why? I don't understand why my attendance of my local parish should be information that is relevant to a government organization. Frankly, I'm unsure, and I would ask the council why that is. Again, this is not just a civil liberties and intellectual freedom issue. This is infrastructure that once in place, we cannot back out of. This data will exist, this data will go to data brokers, and this data has the possibility to be misused by data brokers. I remind the council of a system in which individuals that were using their app to find the location of Mecca was accessed by data brokers, and was then, of course, what was that information used for? That information was then sold to the government. So I am very uncomfortable with the idea of FLOK cameras in my community. I know every single one of my neighbors on my street. I live on a street in North Renton where one of my neighbors is 93. I want her protected.
Comments for us.
I want her protected, but I do not want her surveilled. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next up is Dylan Mayo.
My name is Dylan Mayo. I'm from citizen of Renton. I'm not going to talk about the assorted reasons of why we shouldn't be doing that. Plenty of people here tonight can give us reasons of that. I'm here to talk about the reasons that even if it were to work as stated, it is still something that we do not need to be engaging with. Many of these systems, and FLOK specifically, have dozens of reported unpatched vulnerabilities that have been reported by several people across, easily to find on the internet. 404 Media has a big list of these. These have been shown that they have multiple demonstrations of civilians accessing live, patched, up-to-date systems and being able to live stream themselves onto a FLOK camera, receive the data in real time, and use it to show that they have access to these cameras. FLOK makes multiple notions that they have these cameras are inaccessible to people if they're live or patched, and that any demonstrations you see are from people getting access to machines and having physical access to the machines. These are deployed systems that are supposed to be live cloud patched. Even when these systems are done in the way that they think they're supposed to be done, they're still a danger. This is a white hat person trying to show us an issue that they have with these issues. We do not know the people that have access to this information, accessing data well beyond the time that it was stated that this data would be deleted, finding data back from the installation of the system and the creation of the system in the factory up through the current day. The data doesn't go anywhere. When it says it's deleted, it's still going to be there. These things are dangerous to be out. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Up is Brian Hughes.
Good evening, Council. My name is Brian Hughes, and I'm a resident of Renton for over 10 years. I'm here because I would like to request that we disable the FLOK cameras in our community and our contract with FLOK and not pursue ALPRs as a broad surveillance solution in our community. As more of these systems have been brought into the community, the less safe I feel. I do not want my personal privacy continuously violated and stored, even when I simply go to get a cup of coffee. Even with stated limited personal data collection, it doesn't take much limited data to establish specific patterns about individuals and giving operators further valuable data that was not explicitly given. My immigrant friends and neighbors have expressed feelings of being unsafe around these systems, especially as we see ICE destroy communities and target minorities and immigrants. We've seen stories and abuses of FLOK and ALPR systems across communities, even against well-intentioned laws and policies in those communities, and I would not want Renton to be in a position to join this list. In these dark times, I hope we could turn off the FLOK cameras for the safety and privacy for all in the community of Renton. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Up is Gabriel Diaz.
Hey folks, my name is Gabriel Diaz, Renton resident, and I'm here to speak on, unsurprisingly, FLOK cameras. Now, I'm really against FLOK cameras for a few reasons. I'm going to say why. Obviously, you've got the immigration issue. The way ICE already used these cameras to target immigrant communities. We have seen how heavy immigration enforcement has gone down. We've seen it in my birth state of Illinois and in Minnesota, and I don't think we want that here. That was not fun. Another concern I have is the personal safety of folks. Now, I have had and still have a stalker, and it's absolutely terrifying. Having unstable individuals who will use any information they can to get about you is terrifying. Them having a tool where they can public records request to figure out exactly where my car goes and using that info to follow its citizens is terrifying. And even outside of public records request, if you have someone in law enforcement, someone who monitors the cameras, that has been used that way, it's been found that way, and that's terrifying. I don't know if you've seen stuff like this in the internet, but we've seen things like doxing and swatting of folks where people will make false 911 calls about people, and they find the address just by looking around in the general few snapshots you can see. Now imagine being able to public records request all over the city. I also have concerns about how these cameras will be used. One of the goals of Project 2025 is to outlaw folks' right to choose their own reproductive health care. I, along with many groups like Planned Parenthood, share concerns about these cameras being used to attack healthcare should it become illegal federally. We cannot trust FLOK and the federal government to not backdoor their way into these cameras. These serious concerns make so many I know incredibly cautious and terrified across the aisle. I ask the cameras be turned off and taken down. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next up is Kim Colwell.
Hello, Mayor and Council members. My name is Kim, and I am live in Renton with my husband. I've been here about 20 years. I am here to talk about FLOK, specifically ALPR. So this month marks the 1-year mark of Stephen Miller and Chrissy Nome having a meeting with ICE. An agent who was at the meeting said the following: Miller came in there and eviscerated everyone. He just ripped in to everyone. He had nothing positive to say about anybody and shot morale down. Miller said he wants everybody arrested. Why are you not at Home Depot? Why are you not at 7-Eleven? He also set a new record of 3,000 a day, double the amount from the months prior. As a result, the push to arrest thousands of people, many of whom had lived and worked in the U.S. for years, there has been a surge in number of so-called collateral arrests when ICE has a warrant to arrest one person, but then they arrive and they arrest all that are at the scene. So you can see ICE has been given and even encouraged to go down for more than just the worst of the worst. New data shows that 70% of immigrants in detention centers do not have a criminal record. So you ask, how does ICE use an ALPR to assist if they don't have a criminal record? There are agencies or cities like the beautiful Renton that I live in and love so much that will share information with other cities that are sharing with the bad guys. They don't know that they're sharing. Auburn is an example. Auburn was sharing with the Border Patrol. They did discover later and they shut that down, but they didn't know. How do we know that who we are sharing with is not sharing with others? I'd like to know that. I think that's a big deal. So, bottom line, I understand that you are asking the public to trust the Renton Police Department. And trust is a big deal because of the political climate that we live in right now. But the problem is there are too many ways for us to get information out to those people who want to harm our marginal people and who want to reach that 3,000 people a day at any cost. They don't care. They don't care that they have a criminal record. Today I met somebody in Shelton who had been detained along with She lives in Shelton, and she had been detained, and there were 8 others who were detained. She was let go. How did that happen? Was that one person who was caught? They just decided because they were brown people, they were going to arrest everyone else. I think that's a valid question. So this is my ask. Shut down or pause FLOK until the following questions can be answered on the FLOK transparency portal, which I think is great. List all the agencies and the city of Renton is sharing with. This includes local and national. National, it's going out to thousands.
I need it.
Okay. All right. Who has been chosen to audit the reports? What are the consequences of the report if it's misused? Revisit the allowance of gross misdemeanor offenses. And when will we know exactly, where's the data that shows that you guys are solving a whole bunch of heinous crimes? I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. I want to say thank you for coming out tonight, and we always appreciate the public coming and giving us your thoughts. So let's see here. Next up is the consent agenda. There are 9 items for council consideration. They're needed like separately pulled.
Sorry.
Yes, Council President Perez.
I would like to pull item 6B for separate consideration.
6D?
B as in,
6B, okay.
As in B as in
boy.
Okay. I move to adopt the consent agenda as revised.
Second. Okay, it's been moved by Council President Perez, second by Councilmember McGurven, that the council approve the consent agenda minus item 6B. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Council President Perez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that the stage doors at Legacy Square Art Project be paused until we receive further information, including community input, ensuring the community has a voice in our permanent public art.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion on that? All right. Let me repeat it again. It's been moved and seconded to pause the public art until there's been more time for public input.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I do have one question, and honestly, I could have emailed this, and just with how busy I have been, I just haven't had the chance to, and I think there are people in the audience who can answer it for us. But with all the work that the current artists have gone through, I do want to make sure that they're being compensated for the time that they have put in already. And so maybe Amanda, can you?
Yes, they are compensated.
Okay,
yes,
so regardless of our moves tonight, they've been taken care of.
They get compensated, yes.
I appreciate that. Thank you. That was my big concern.
Yep. Any other discussion?
Mayor?
Yes, Councilmember.
Yeah, I have a question in terms of the council's motion to pause this. Is there a certain particular thoughts that you have in terms of more community engagement? Because the presentation staff provided last time provided community stakeholders and engagement.
There was definitely extensive community input into the project. I know CED's here could add more to that.
Yeah, I'd like to have the council member to elaborate.
There are 2 pieces of this. One is more information. I think I need more information about cost, about the results of the community outreach and the community input, and specific about the pieces of art that we presented. I don't think I'm ready based on the comments that I have received from the public. So that's the reason why I wish we put a pause. Believe me, it's 38 days until World Cup, and I don't think it's any more excited in this body than me about the World Cup happening. And I understand that public art is very important for the opening of the Legacy Square, but the Legacy Square is not just there for 1 month that is going to be the World Cup. The Legacy Square art is going to be there for a permanence. I hope that more than 10 years stay there before the World Cup ends. So I feel that the public has a big voice on this, and I want to ensure that all the community has a voice in what is our permanent public art. And I don't think that bring the pieces to the community for their input is negative. I think it's just getting more involved our community to something that is that we can put a lot of investment to make it magnificent. Everybody's excited about Legacy Square. I am super excited about Legacy Square. I just feel that I need more time to decide what should go there.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilmember.
Thank you. So may I also kind of give comment and ask question in regards to this? To the Legacy Square thing?
Comment, yeah.
Yeah, thank you, sir. I appreciate it. I had a great conversation with Council President Perez, and I think that something that's kind of we missed the mark here is in terms of kind of process and procedure, and maybe this is something for the future, but we were talking about maybe we have a public hearing for every public piece of artwork that's going to be put in to the city of Renton. If we want that public feedback and we want that type of transparency, I am completely, I think, in agreement with that because it's a permanent piece of art. And I have been on the dais and I love all of the artistry and all of the work that goes into this. And I'm not against more public feedback. I'm not against soliciting that with like even changing our process for the future to make this more of an engagement process and to have more of a public hearing so more people can be engaged and get that feedback. And so I really appreciate this because I do love the artwork that's submitted here. I'm going to say that right now. I think the artwork submitted, fabulous. Love it to pieces. And I had a really good conversation with constituents, with our council president, and I love like 99.9% of the pieces of artwork here in Renton, and the 0.1 piece of artwork that I do question, me and Council President Perez had a great conversation about it. And so it was like, yeah, I would have loved to have had a public hearing around that. So I do support this. I do appreciate your energy and your engagement to want to seek that public feedback because I think a lot of people are still unaware of what artwork is actually going to go into the Legacy Square, right? And I think it's better for us to go and do a temporary fix and then solicit that public feedback, maybe even change our process permanently so we can always get that public hearing scheduled so people can always have the opportunity. And so thank you so much, Council President Perez.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
And with all due respect, I want to acknowledge all the work of staff, the artists, the Renton Art Commission, and even the planning committee in engaging with the discussion and all the time that staff has provided to explain to me a little bit more of the vision of the outreach that is out there. This is nothing to do about this art. I think that we have an incredible opportunity to present something extraordinary, and I did my own public outreach during the last presentation to get a little input of the community. And based on the answers that I receive and based on the input that I receive, the same community have so many ideas. They want to participate. Art is something that is very, how do you say, in motion. It's not stable anymore. It's something that people wants to be part of it. And art tells a story. I was just talking to Gina, and Gina told me we want the art to be discussed. We need the public to have conversation about what we put out there. This has nothing to do about the artist. This has nothing to do about about not trusting the process that they have gone through. This has to be more about the connections that the community has approached me about the specific art that came and how much they want a voice in this process.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilmember.
Actually, Councilmember Howland tried to speak before.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Councilmember Haller and then Councilmember Albertson.
I would like to understand why the project was broken into two pieces. Why not one contiguous art installation where part of it pops out at you because it's on stage doors? But it seems to me that is such a missed opportunity to have something really striking and a contiguous piece of art rather than two separate concepts. So I guess I'm trying to understand from the get-go, why did we turn it into two pieces of art? And when we did that, how many actual responses, how many applications, or how many artists actually came forward and these two were selected? So it's more of a process thing. It's not the art itself, but to me, I think that's an excellent opportunity to have one massive piece of art where part of it pops out at you. Thank you.
Yes, Councilmember Albertson.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I want to speak as to why I seconded the motion and get very specific. The motion was about pausing the stage door art. For me, part of it is maybe the process. It feels even when we had the committee of the whole meeting, or when it was last time, feels like the cart maybe was put ahead of the horse a little bit. It felt almost like a rubber stamp process. Hey, we picked this up. We need you guys to give the blessing, and that's good. What it turned out to be was the blessing wasn't given on all of it, and in particular to the stage door. I know that, if I recall, there were several comments that everybody loved the art. You know, including me, the artist, I think is incredible. The question was, I think from some, is that the place for it to be? And to Councilmember Perez's point, you know, this is not just the World Cup, but it's for the World Cup, but going on. And for my mind, that particular piece for the stage door going into it, for different reasons, I talked about the serpents and things such as that. Personally, I second it, because maybe a pause to reconsider, get more public input. I think Councilmember Perez went out and talked to a number of people, and according to what she told me, nobody was in favor of it. Well, that's a concern. I don't know about having a public hearing. Due respect to Councilmember Rivera, okay, maybe then 20 more people are going to come in and comment on it. And still on a population of 108,000, I don't know how much that is going to give you the input you need. I'm not trying to be negative about it. I'm just being pragmatic and realistic. We're not going to have half the city come in. If there's another way we can get the public input, then fantastic. So part of it is a process, but part of it is just this stage door, if that's what we're going with, and that's, going into the future, and this is the chance we have. That's why I wanted to second for discussion, and that's where my concern is.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, go for it.
Mr. Abelson, thank you for bringing this, because I can share with you that there is one piece of art that I do remember being very active for getting public input, and that was when we did the fire station 15, the Kennydale? It's 15, right? The water tower was a big concern for the neighborhood, a neighborhood that was very well organized, and they didn't want the water tower there. They had several meetings why it was necessary for safety more than anything else to have the water there. But at the end, they were very committed on, let's put it there, but let's put a piece of art there that we all like. And it was a very public, very public process. It was just not put out there for the neighborhood, but also there were 3 pieces that were put on social media that people get to vote, and a lot of engaging in the process. I don't think that every single time that we're going to put a wrapping box, we have to do that, for example, right? There are so many pieces of art around. But there are some of them that are more significant than others because the meaning that is behind that art. So when I say public input, I don't know. I don't go to that process because I let the staff doing it. But I have seen what the city in the past have done to get that public input, and how would they put the water tower there, and they chose the one that the public chose. After that, none of the neighborhoods were upset, but they felt that they were part of the process. And that's what I want, them to feel that they are heard and they have a voice in what is the city where they live.
None of the neighbors were upset that called you, but
I think staff.
I want to correct Mr. Did they call you? Did they complain about that? Because I didn't hear it.
Yeah.
But that happened when you
did.
were not a mayor yet.
No, I was a council member. And my point on that is that art,
To clarify, because that's not fair.
art is very, very subjective. So, yes, so council member going to make some comments, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify a few things. First of all, process. There was quite a bit of public engagement around themes and concepts, not around specific art creations, okay? So what happened was we issued an RFP. That RFP was issued. We received, between the 2 pieces of art installation locations, around 25 to 28 on each. So over 40 in total between the 2 spaces. The reason they were looked at differently is because in the art plan, it was identified as 2 different spaces to make sure we get diversified art and spread the wealth amongst the art community. So we issued the RFP. The selection committee, which included your arts commission, selected Urban Artworks to help facilitate the hiring of 2 artists. So those 2 artists were hired, and they were asked to come up with their design. Their design is what's in front of you. So you're doing now the step that we would expect you to do based on starting a year ago with public input on how we're gonna, what kind of art we want to see, where we're going, to an RFP, to a selection committee, which included your arts commission, to the hiring of the artists, and now their rendering of what the vision is based on all the input they got on throughout the process. So that's where we are today. At the end of the day, this is the moment in time where if the art doesn't fit where you expect to go, or you feel there's more input that's necessary, that's the next step we do it. Because as I was telling Councilmember Perez, that art is what we're hoping to do is get the energy and the conversation going about the arts. Because Renton, we do plan to elevate the arts in Renton, and that's how we're going to do it, is to start talking and really being thoughtful about art. So just wanted to clarify the steps that we got here, because it has been a year in process to get you to here today. Unfortunately, as it was mentioned, we're what, how many days away?
30.
30. So
38.
So don't feel pressure to make a decision. If you're not behind it, we can continue to work forward and find the right piece for you.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Thank you, Gina. I really appreciate that you say that, because I did feel like Councilmember Albertson said, I feel that was part of the process and protocol, just to come to the council and just rubber stamp and not expect to say, oh, wait, let's pause it a little bit. I know that there's time that is here, so if we already have their answer, if we already have the input of the community, or if we want more input, I mean, I think, as I said, it is something that we still have time. Not probably time for the World Cup, but time for hearing more. And as a council member, I probably want to see the results of the outreach of the community and see why we come to the decision that this is the right pieces for that. I didn't feel that I had that all information when it was presented. But at the end of the day, I'm just one vote. And my job is to speak for the people and speak for myself and say, when I feel comfortable to vote about something, I want to make sure that that vote is genuine and not something that I feel that I just feel pressure that I have to vote. So this is why right now I'm expressing my concern. But I do appreciate your work. I do appreciate your staff. I do appreciate the Renton Art Commission, and of course the artists that are involved on this. Then I'm not taking anything away of that. I'm just trying to bring to the table a concern. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
In light of timing and expense and the potential temporariness of whatever we do for World Cup, I'm got this image in my head of just painting the wall white and projecting stuff up there for a month, whether it's flags, whether it's whatever it is, just keeping it super, super simple so that we do have something for World Cup.
Okay, so we're planners, so we always have backup plans, believe it or not. So tonight on the agenda is just the doors. The wall is not on your agenda, okay? So the backup plan for the wall is that wall right now is not owned by the city. We are needing to get an easement to place art on that, but we do plan to make that wall look good. So we've thought about all different things from projection, which we've talked to our AV gentleman who helped us with the screen. And unfortunately, most of the events aren't, it gets dark at 9. So we can't project anything. It's not going to be worth it. It's not going to show anything. We've talked about banners and all kinds of things. What we can do, though, is we can prime it and paint it. Just normal paint. We're not talking art. We're talking a paint job. So when all the photos that will be taken at Legacy Square are taken, it shows that we are thoughtful and intentional with the delivery of a complete product. So we're planning, if you guys were where we knew you were, because it's only the doors on the agenda, is to paint it and prime it ready to go. That may have some Renton ready to play colors in it, but it will just be a paint job, just like they're painting their building. So that's our game plan, just to make it look festive and pretty in the photos and thought out, because right now you'll notice there's some different colors just trying to paint over some graffiti and stuff, and we want to eliminate that. We want to show Renton's best. So that's our plan for the backup for the wall.
Mr. Mayor?
Thank you. Yes. Councilmember.
Excellent.
All right.
Mayor,
Yes.
chime in real quick if I may. So I'm definitely not an art critic, and I don't have strong feelings, as I know other colleagues up here do. I would say if we're speaking just, and this is not probably as much to this as it is to what was brought up by Councilmember Rivera and the larger process, my general take is to put our trust in the Arts Commission as the experts to bring us recommendations. And so it was great to hear there's a process. Even better to hear there's a backup plan. So I do appreciate that. That makes me a lot more comfortable with pressing pause. I think the difference from where I'm coming from on this is, and I'll take another iconic project for comparison with Erasmus the Dragon. I felt like we were in that every step of the way through that process, when that from the concept to even part of the fabrication. And so I think what the reaction perhaps some of my colleagues felt up here, and myself included, was a little bit of surprise that we got something different than I think what we might have been expecting from what we saw earlier. Not saying it was wrong, but I think that's kind of where we ended up where we were. And so if we were looking in the future to try to avoid that, that is where I would hope we could address it. That said, I'm fine with the pressing pause right now to make sure we get it right, because I do think this is one of those iconic art pieces that we want to make sure we do right.
All right. Well, we have a motion on the floor. Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I do have a question for Gina, because in terms of the wall you mentioned, that's kind of just painting it. But the door itself, is there a backup plan for the door? And maybe I misheard.
Our backup plan right now is we're getting a quote for a wrap to place the Renton Ready to Play logo on it. So it could have that branding, which is our, kind of summer activity branding on that door.
Okay, any other questions? Or we're gonna move to a vote. Okay, we have motion on the floor to move. Yeah, basically to pause the art on the door. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Okay, the ayes have it. All right, we're on unfinished business. Council President Perez.
No unfinished business, Mr. Mayor.
All right, Councilmember Prince.
No unfinished business, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember McGurven.
No unfinished business, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember O'Halloran.
No unfinished business, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Rivera.
No unfinished business, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Albertson.
No unfinished business, Mr. Mayor.
Irvan.
Thank you, Mayor. The Utilities Committee has one committee report to present.
Okay, the Utilities Committee report is regarding a memorandum of understanding with the City of Kent. The Utilities Committee recommends concurrence in the staff recommendation to authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute a memorandum of understanding with the City of Kent for implementing the 2026 through 2027 RE Plus City Grant. This is signed by the committee vice chair and approved virtually by a member.
Mayor?
That's Councilmember.
I move that the council concur with the Utilities Committee report.
Okay, moved by Councilmember Vance, second by Councilmember Albertson, that the council concur with the Utility Committee report. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nay? Motion carries. We're on to legislation. We have one ordinance for second and final reading.
This ordinance is regarding the carry forward first quarter budget amendment. An ordinance of the City of Renton, Washington, amending the City of Renton fiscal years 2025-2026 biennial budget, ratifying and authorizing the administration's practice of filling positions within a classification series at or below the level authorized in the salary table, authorizing position changes, amending the 2026 salary table, and establishing an effective date.
Mayor.
Yes, Councilmember Howard.
I move the ordinance be adopted as read.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilmember Halloran, second by Councilmember McGurven, that the ordinance be adopted as read. This is its second and final reading. If there's no discussion, it requires a roll call.
Council President Perez.
Aye.
Councilmember Prince.
Aye.
Councilmember McGurven.
Aye.
Councilmember O'Halloran.
Aye.
Councilmember Rivera.
Aye.
Councilmember Albertson.
Aye.
And Councilmember Vaughn.
Aye.
Roll call, Mr. Mayor, all ayes.
All right, motion carries, and we are on to new business. Council President Perez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On Monday, May 11, 2026, at 6 p.m., we will have our committee of the whole here at the council chambers and also via video conference. There is one item on the agenda, and it's the Benson Hill Community Plan update. At 7 o'clock, we will have our regular council meeting here at council chambers as well as via video conference. Thank you.
All right, Councilmember Prince.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At 5:15 p.m. on Monday, May 11th, the Planning and Development Committee will be meeting. We have two items on the agenda. First, the Valley Community Planning Process update, and second, the emerging issues in CED. That's all, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you. Councilmember McGurven.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Community Services Committee will be meeting on Monday, May 11th at 3:30 p.m. in the council conference room and via video conference. There is just one item on the agenda, and that will be emerging issues in parks and recreation. That's all.
All right, thank you. Councilmember O'Halloran.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. On Monday, May 11th at 4:15 p.m., the Finance Committee will be meeting in the council conference room and via video conference. We have 9 items on the agenda. The first is Emergency Management Performance Grant. Second is ASME Local 2170 Salary Review and Adjustments. Third, Resolution for ratifying and amending the investment policy. Fourth is Agreement with Bruce Dees and Associates for the Cleveland Richardson Park design. Fifth, Internet Crimes Against Children Grant for 2026. Sixth is Interagency Agreement with the Washington State Department of Ecology for Air Quality EV Charging Level 2 Charge Where You Are grant. Seventh is Agreement with the Pacific Securities for Security Services. 8 vouchers, and 9 emerging issues in finance. And that is what I have. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Rivera.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think after hearing a lot of the public comment this evening, it's worth us having a transparent conversation here on the dais around having a pause of our FLOK cameras or ALPR cameras for the time being. And so I would like to propose a motion or move the motion that we put a pause on our ALPR FLOK cameras in the city of Renton.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilmember Rivera, second by Councilmember Van, to put a pause on the ALPR system. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
You move so quickly. I love it. I do apologize. You are quick. You're like on 1.5 speed, and I appreciate that. I can speak to my motion for just a quick moment.
You sure can.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. You know, we saw a number of people sign up for public comment today, which always gives me pause to really consider something. As been stated in the past, I have been a fan of the Big Brother. Anything that helps as a tool for law enforcement that can help minimize conflict or use of force, I think is always a benefit. And the librarian today really resonated with me. I always live myself a good librarian, but I've also talked to a couple of people in the cybersecurity sector in that same regard around how easy it is to access these data points, the lack of the ability to actually sanitize the information. She was actually pretty spot on there as I've dug more deeper into this. It is a great tool, but like any other tool, it's who is in control of the tool. And though there were many concerns discussed in public safety today, I do think these are legitimate concerns from our community members. And I don't think it's ever realistic to think that we are going to see a representative number of 108,000 residents come to a city council meeting, especially with this affordability crisis and just how generally busy people are. But I think when any group or any collection of residents can come and organize and say, hey, this makes us incredibly uncomfortable. And this is the reason why. It is our job as leaders, as elected leaders, as their representatives to say, okay, maybe we take this into consideration. And again, I don't think this is a reflection of us not trusting the Renton Police Department. I really enjoy our Renton police officers and working with them. I think they're fantastic. It is the unknowns. It is the fact that I think we put the cart before the horse, as we often do when it comes to technology. And I think for the time being, I recommend anyone, it's on Hulu, to watch ML King /FBI if you really want to understand the history of surveillance in this country. And what we are even seeing today with the use of these FLOK cameras. And I never want to be on our heels ever catching anything. And so I would just implore our colleagues to consider this. I would also be happy to toss the ball over to my amazing colleague at the other end of the dais here, Mr. Councilmember Albertson, who's the chair of public safety. I no longer sit on public safety. I'm really sad about it, but I know that you had a great conversation today. So if you have anything to add, I would love to hear your perspective.
I did have a great conversation. I have nothing to add.
Okay, any other discussion on this? Yes, Councilmember Ben.
Yeah, thank you. With all that said, I also want to thank community for coming and speaking, commenting weeks after weeks regarding this issue. And, you know, as someone who made the motion a few weeks ago, I find it very, I guess, the quick pace of nature, how FLOK was turned on, although we received an email. Of course, I missed last week's because of being sick, but I wanted to have more thoughtful conversations surrounding the data. Particularly, you know, for me, a pet peeve is why would Linwood need our data up there? Why would Marysville? Why would all these cities? And it's really to better the usage of our tools. I think pausing, I prefer that the FLOK cameras be shut down, but pausing is a term I'm okay with at this point in time. I think the risks here is way more than the benefit from our communities of immigrants and refugees. I think any immigrant or refugee or a person of color in the communities that we serve, who I've talked to and organized with, have really has a lot of concern for fear, real fear, not rumors. And then, of course, the University of Washington Human Rights Report, I think it's really important for us to research and do further with that information.
All right, yes, Councilmember McGurven.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I'm going to bring a slightly different perspective in that I do think that the cameras have value. I do think they can help prevent violent and dangerous crimes. I mean, I'm imagining situations, and I hate that I imagine these sort of things, but if it were used from the flip side, if there was a white supremacist or a Proud Boys group that we were able to track down a result of that, or someone who were driving through a protest or something horrific like that, things that I don't want to think about, like I think there are good uses of this technology. That said, I do agree there are questions on it, and if we need to take a pause to put better guardrails and ensure them, I wasn't part of the Public Safety Committee conversation. I do understand that we would want to make sure whoever else has access to that data, they have security on it. I also understand that having the broader network helps it be more effective. Like that's part of the reason that it works. So I don't think we can fight technology. I think it's here to stay. Like we have to adapt and grow. But if we think there's questions, and I have more questions if there are other providers outside of FLOK, if we do have this contract coming up for renewal. So I do want to understand like what the financial implications of this decision would be. But if we were going back to pause, because I do agree, it just they were just back on all of a sudden, and I don't know that we had a lot of input in that as a council.
Mr. Mayor.
Well, the only thing I'll point out is when the chief made the presentation at the time, he said they were going to be paused until they were upgraded, and then they were going to be turned back on. But yes, Councilmember Albertson.
I'll go back. I'll expound, and did have a great discussion in public safety, and some actually in the audience actually tuned into that. My fear is they took away what they wanted to take away, because the comments that were highlighted conspicuously left out a conversation that we had about the pragmatic use or possibility of some of these, some of the things that people are fearing will happen, exactly how easy or how probable. Anything's possible. And we cannot, if we start to make decisions based on something that is possible, we won't make a decision on anything. We have to go on where the probability is. It was paused to the kudos of the Renton Police Department to actually put things in place, given the legislature's decision on exactly where these holes. Some people tonight spoke about some things that had happened in the past. They have been corrected to the best of that I can tell that they can be. And if we continue to live in the past of, well, this happened before, so it will happen again, it's got to happen again, it's bound to happen again, no matter what efforts, we say, well, we should pause to understand it more. Well, guess what? They did. They have. They've done things. And for me, and I did make this point in the Public Safety Committee, this is not in any way to not be sensitive to those people who are concerned. There is a fear. My fear is the fear is being amplified in an unfair manner to some degree, to make people even more afraid of something that they need, that for the most part, most need not be. There are going to be bad actors out there. There are always going to be bad actors out there. We cannot make decisions based on a bad actor or 5 bad actors. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of a few. And I'm sorry to quote Spock, but yeah. But I'm not trying to be facetious about it, but I made the point. When we talk about public safety and we talk about what we're trying to do and what happens on a weekly, monthly, whatever basis. Gentlemen, when the cameras were on pause, for those who don't know, the day after they were on pause, gentleman had a gunshot wound to the head, found on Rainier. Had those, and because the cameras were on, they were able to identify the vehicle, go to the FLOK, actually find the vehicle. It's still an ongoing investigation. But, if you were the mother, father, brother of the victim, and I don't know what his current status is, I think you'd be quite grateful. Now, that doesn't minimize at all the person who, the people in Texas who tracked down the person with the abortion, or looking for them. Hey, that's terrible. That's heinous. Hopefully that door has been closed. The public record request has been closed. That is no longer possible. No one chose to acknowledge that. Now, though that used to be a talking point about why this was so bad. And so my fear is no matter what is done, no matter what, I won't even say Band-Aid, no matter what door is nailed shut, somebody's going to find a window to try and say, well, that window, that latch doesn't look secure. And the fact of the matter is it has been way too helpful for the Renton Police Department and the public, in my opinion, to throw the baby out with the bathwater. I've said it before, I'll say it again. So from my discussion in public safety, that's what I have to say.
Mr. Mayor?
Okay. Yes, Councilmember.
Excuse me. Thank you so much. And thank you, Councilmember Albertson. I appreciate you sharing with us today. I really do appreciate that perspective. Thank you very, very much. I was the chair of public safety for 2 years, and I think everyone on this dais knows that I teach criminal justice. I'm in my 9th year of teaching criminal justice at Seattle University. I've had a lot of conversations around this. And so to respond to a couple of things, here's what the data does tell us. When it comes to violent crime, there is no conclusive data to how effective FLOK can be. I'm telling you this as a criminal justice professional and expert who has studied this. When it comes to violent crime, there is no conclusive data that tells us that, hey, FLOK is the thing, right? Now, what we do see is with property crime. Stolen vehicles. Missing children is a big concern for me. That's where I really do like to hold off on this and check myself, because when it comes to Amber Alerts, this is one of the strongest tools we actually do have, which is why I wanted to have this conversation on the dais. And so for me, I have to think ethically about the balance. And you brought it up really beautifully. The needs of the many outweighs the needs of the few. If that were the reality of our society, rape culture wouldn't exist, because many women are raped and sexually assaulted. There is a very much rape culture that exists in this society. And we've seen it also with the harassment that was mentioned around people who have been DV victims or have been in relationships with law enforcement. We have seen that. And so to your point, that actually isn't the reality of our society. It's those who are in power decide the needs of the many versus the needs of the few. And we have seen that in time in history again. And I think the other thing, and with that, the other thing that pauses for me is just shutting off our cameras and the possible risk of losing this investigative tool when it comes to, in my worst case scenario, a missing children's case. Does that outweigh the possibility because these are both possibilities and theoreticals here, the possibility of this tool being used to hunt down immigrant children. And that is a really uncomfortable conversation we have to have, right? Because now we're weighing the needs of which children are more important. I'm walking you through my actual thought process. I debate this each and every day. And I know how difficult this conversation is because I come from a background that understands the nuance between all of this. And that's where, it goes back to a lecture I had with my students when it comes to false reports. Do you not believe a false report because you don't want to identify an offender? Or do you listen to that false report at the risk of not listening to an actual victim? Right? And we see that in law enforcement. We see that across the gauntlet. And so for me, when I think about my steady point, it's marginalized communities, it's our children. And when I see what's happening, I have given real pause around what it means for all children. And for me, do we have other tools in our tool belts? Before ALPR cameras were a thing, we were still solving these cases. RPD does a great job. And that would be something of interest to me that I would love to get back is the data around missing children's cases before ALPR and after ALPR, right? But we don't have that right now. ALPR has only been around for a year or so, I believe. And so that's where I'm saying, look, we've operated in the city for, I think it's our 125th anniversary or something like that this year. We've operated without that. So maybe we consider the pause based off the concerns, because last thing I'll end with this. The people who are concerned around this have been victims of harassment and have been victims of crimes and violence. And as someone who has experienced a lot of harassment, unfairly and unduly so, I think that's why I come at it with this lens, because when it comes to understanding equity and fairness, again, it's who holds the power, and in their society, that is usually white, cis, heterosexual men, not black and brown women of color.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilmember.
Councilmember Rivera, I need to understand just better your motion, because I do understand the fear. So I just need to know, when you are asking to move to pause this, is for how long? Until they bring information, until that is collected? I just need to understand the motion to know what we're voting.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I thought I said a stoppage, and I may have said a pause, and that was my mistake. I meant to say a stoppage, but to go back to your pause, I'm fine with a pause because we do have a contract in motion, which Councilmember McIrvin informed me, and I appreciate that. So I think a pause, contractually would be better. So I'm going to stick with my verbiage there. But I would think until we come back with more information based off, because I know we have the Senate bill, but this isn't about the Senate bill. This is about just having them functioning in our city. And I think we need to seek more feedback from the public, as was stated around even the artwork, right? Seek more feedback around how people feel about this. Because when I look at the data, there are over 600,000 cars that were, 632,343 number of unique plate reads over the last 30 days. That's a lot. So I think I just would like some more information. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Could you repeat your motion?
Yes.
I would love to move. I'm so sorry. I would love to move the motion for a pause of our FLOK cameras until we can get more information to address the concerns of the public.
Already been second, so.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes, Councilmember.
Sorry, I
That's
have
all right.
one additional thing I wanted to add to this. I think I neglected on the first one, and Councilmember Rivera, I think, expertly brought it up. So I don't have a whole bunch of data to go on this one. So I'm more probably in Councilmember Albertson's sense of I can see where it can be effective. I also can see obviously where it's going to be misused. What I can draw from is one real life example. My wife was a victim of violent crime. She was carjacked at gunpoint in front of our house. Our kids were almost in the back seat, honestly. And so, I know that's technology in place that could have potentially helped solve that crime when that car was taken. So it's not just honestly about the property crime. I think there are victims in any of these, and the trauma that she experienced as a result of that still affects her to this day. And the perpetrators were honestly never brought to justice. So that is something that is still sitting there. And so I do think we need this technology. I want to be clear on that. I am, again, okay with making sure we get it right. That's where I'm at.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I'd like for Commander Hassinger to give some commentary on how she uses it and just you can give more color commentary.
Yes, thank you. So I'm Commander Hassinger. I'm your investigations commander for the PD. I supervise all the investigations, including all the major crimes. Right now, we're using FLOK predominantly for violent felony crime. Per the new law, we can use it for gross misdemeanor as well. That's required in the search engine before you do a search. And I'd like to answer any questions that I can for the council in regard to what your concerns are about in particular. Immigration is not anything at all per policy that we share information on or we would even do a search on.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilmember.
Thank you. Can you clarify what is the starting point of any click? It's a license plate, isn't it?
Yes.
It's not a person.
There is no name search that we do in FLOK. It is a vehicle search only. It is for a license plate. You can do partial plates as well.
Yes, that's fine.
And if there's nothing found in the database with that license plate, what happens next?
Good question, and I wouldn't know the answer to that, but what I can tell you is what we do if it's not hitting on a FLOK camera, so if there is no search done, then, and there's a time frame that we look, we know that most likely what happened is the person that's occupying that vehicle did not take a route that has a FLOK camera. So then we'll start to focus our areas and...
I'm sorry. I misrepresented.
Okay.
When the click is taken of the license plate, if there's no hit on an active crime, what happens to that click? Does it just go away?
Is your question if the search is...
Retention, like...
Yeah.
Oh, it's the 21 days. I am not an expert on the new policy. I can tell you that. I can speak to the usage and how we apply it, but I believe it's a 21-day retention period that we keep that information, that we can actually utilize the information right now. It's very short term. Very short term.
Thank you.
Yes, Councilmember.
If I can kind of tag on to that, I think where maybe Councilmember Howland is going. So it's there, but it effectively has no use until there's something to tie it to, a search to tie it to. Councilmember Rivera says 632,000 plates. Okay. But, and I made this point or asked this question in public safety. If you are not looking for somebody specific, then having a picture of a license plate is a picture of a license plate. If they are not on if you're not searching for an individual, in this case because of felony or gross misdemeanor, then it's a picture of a license plate. You know, you can't find somebody you're not looking for just because the camera took the license plate. I have to be looking for somebody specific. Is that not correct?
You have to be looking for a specific vehicle.
A specific vehicle.
Yes. Yeah. And so the retention is there would be a purge after that 21-day period, and we would not have any access to do a search beyond that period. Does that am I answering your question?
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Council President.
I do appreciate so much that you are giving us these detailed explanations on the use of these cameras. I was last year on public safety and I received a lot of information, and what rationally I do understand all the things that we're going to accomplish with the data that we collect. And I do understand that it's not about names, our faces. Rationally, I do understand it. My struggling today is not rationally, it's emotionally, it's feelings, because it's the people that trust us have fear, a real fear. So as community, as department, as city, how can we ask them to trust us with these tools instead of imposing them to them when their fear is very real. And it's not just because what they have heard about the use of this is what they have experienced, a lot of them in their own home countries, because we live in a city that is full of immigrants with different backgrounds and with different cultures. We have seriously advanced in Renton, especially because the effort of the police department and the past three police chief that we have had in their serious investment to connect with the community and trust us. Do I believe that the community they trust Renton Police Department more than other cities? I do believe it because I hear it every day. But the matter of the truth, this is still a lot of fear about this new technology. And that is when I think it's not about the uses or no uses of these tools. It's about how we can reaffirm to the community that this is a positive for them. As Council Member McKervin said it, I mean, in the case of his wife, I mean, it's something that is real, that you want a tool like this to have it ready. But in the case of other communities, specifically the immigrant community or other communities that are very concerned about the Big Brother, me being about one of them, how can we say, trust us? Trust us with this, trust us with the data that we're collecting, trust us how we're going to use it. It doesn't matter if we say, yes, we're going to use it right, if the trust is not there. Is where I have concerns. And I don't expect you to answer. I'm just trying to tell you that I do empathize with you, that I appreciate your work, and I appreciate all the tools that are at your service. But it's also, there is a fear that is very real that is out there, and we cannot ignore it. Thank you.
Councilman.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your explanation. I do have a few questions. My first question is, how many data is a pragmatic solution, right? Because FLOK is a pragmatic solution to safety. How many sets of data or sets of crimes of data that we have been able to pull from all the investigation? I know it's only a year and a half or so.
Right. That's a really good question. And we haven't collected the data, but I can speak to some very high profile cases, multiple homicides. We have the current one that Councilmember Albertson spoke to earlier. That is an open investigation. And actually, the initial information sounded like it was not going to be homicide. But because of video surveillance, we were able to determine it actually was a homicide. And we continued the pursuit for justice and gathering evidence and the other mechanisms. I can't speak to too much of the detail of that because it is open. I can also speak to, we had a homicide in FLOK, was not in our city yet, but it was in other areas nationwide and went all the way down into Mexico. And we were able to track the suspect who had the victim in their vehicle all the way down and ended up actually recovering the victim who had succumbed to injuries on that one. But there are many cases, had we not had that information, we wouldn't have a place to look for additional evidence. That particular case that I was speaking to, that was a homicide, we were actually able to recover it and bring the suspect back up to King County. And we are also, and we're still in process to get that individual through trial. So we don't have actual numbers yet to speak to statistics on what crimes we have solved with it because it is so new, but I can speak to, and I can rattle off case after case after case, that had we not had this technology, we wouldn't have had leads to actually locate evidence to get the suspects. And I understand the fear because of other states, other areas in the nation where FLOK has been misused. And we have accountability standards in our policy and also the law with the new RCW that it would actually be a gross misdemeanor if it's misused now. And we have accountability measures set in place for that.
Yes, Councilmember.
Thank you for answering our questions, and thank you for being here tonight. I really appreciate
Wasn't planning on speaking.
Well, no, and also just thank you. I also really just appreciate when we see females in leadership positions in law enforcement. I have a lot of students who are female. When they see someone like you, it makes them feel like they can actually do the job. So I do appreciate you being here tonight and answering these questions. Additionally, I want to ask more specifically, and this is kind of just maybe when it comes to the big concern is its biggest strength is its biggest weakness, right? The cloud data, the ability that we can kind of like allow neighboring cities to access it. Now, I understand there are accountability measures in place, and just like how FLOK is more of a reactive tool than a preventative tool, right? Because the data also says it doesn't prevent crime, it's more reactive in terms of a tool to help solve crime, right? So as that is to be said, these accountability measures are also reactive. In theory, right, there is nothing stopping the access of ICE from a neighboring agency or a neighboring agency that if somebody wants to break the rules and go against the law, I know cops never break the law. I know that never, ever, 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 ever happens, right? But let's say that one bad apple, right, really wants to. And that's say, yeah, it'll be a gross misdemeanor. They could lose their certification. But that's all after the fact, right? There's still no like actual stoppage, right, to the system itself if somebody from Auburn PD wanted to allow access to Homeland Security for whatever reason. I think that's the kind of the big paranoid fear that I would love to be addressed.
And what I'm hearing is outside agencies, Auburn looking at our cameras and things. Right now, I know that we are focused only on Renton and incidents that occur in Renton. If there is an outside request, it has to go through supervisor approval, which would be either me or somebody of the same rank to filter that request. So that's why we would ensure that ICE is not, we have very, very clear policy that we're not sharing any information whatsoever with ICE. In addition to that, it would have to meet the standard for, is it a felony crime? Is it a gross misdemeanor crime before that information is released?
I know that is incredibly helpful. I do have one follow-up, but I don't want to break the Roberts rules. So I'm going to wait on that follow-up. Okay,
Follow-up.
Mr. Mayor is giving me permission. All right, I'm doing better.
Councilmember O'Halloran, too a little slow to the draw, but you're up next.
So could an officer, in theory, and I know officers never lie and they never break the rules and they never break the law, but could an officer, in theory, lie to allow access to that data and then maybe get away with it, but because of, for whatever X, Y, and Z reason, right? Is that possible?
Mr. Mayor?
I'm asking a question.
I'm going to try to answer your question.
Oh, I would love to hear from the expert, though, personally, who knows what FLOK is all about, because she's the one who approves them.
Okay, the question is...
So can an officer lie and get access to FLOK and it be approved?
It can have access to FLOK, and they could obviously violate our rules and regulations, which is why we have those measures set in place for accountability.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember O'Halloran, yeah.
From what I've learned in public safety committee meetings is that in order to do a search, you have to have a felony,
yes,
a gross misdemeanor, you've got to have a case number, and you've got to have a supervisor's approval before you can hit the search button.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, we still have a motion on the floor. Any more discussion on it? Yes, Councilmember Van.
Thank you, Mayor. Last question, and just getting your expertise in this regarding, because prior to this, prior to the state taking action, we had a list of cities that had access. So you're telling me is, and the council members, is that we have do away with that list of cities where they have to go through you individually to then grant access? And it could be more than those cities?
So the cities that do not have FLOK and are not held to the standards and aren't auditing and do not have the system set in place in their agency, and they come to us and they would like us to run a search for them, that would require the supervisor approval. Does that make sense? And then if it would be a shared system with other agencies that are in compliance, that do have audits in place, that are in adherence to the new standards. Am I clear on answering that?
Yeah, so the list of states, so list of cities that we had there on the website prior to this, they can still access because they have FLOK.
If they have
Okay, without
FLOK,
your permission.
yes, then that would be a shared information, and they would also have the audits and all of the other systems in place that we're implementing as well, according to the new RCW.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilmember O'Halloran.
But they would still need to be able to say, it's a felony, it's a misdemeanor, here's the case number, here's the date it was approved, in order to search our system or to access the information.
Now we're getting into technical questions about the search, like blocks. I'm not too familiar, and I would have to defer and get more information to answer that thoroughly about other agencies and what they do in accessing our information. But FLOK is a shared technology because suspects move all around. They don't just stay in Renton. And so it helps us to locate victims and vehicles and evidence that is outside of our jurisdiction, which is why it's so effective.
Thank you.
All right, we have a motion on the floor to pause this technology until the council members have had time to get more information. That is still the motion on the floor. Any other discussion? All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay?
Nay.
Was that 4-2?
I could not tell. Could we get a roll call?
Roll call, please, yes.
Council President Perez.
Aye.
Councilmember Prince.
Nay.
Councilmember McIrvin.
Aye.
Councilmember O'Halloran.
Nay.
Councilmember Rivera.
Aye.
Councilmember Albertson.
Nay.
And Councilmember Vaughn.
Aye.
It's 4 ayes, 3 nays.
4 ayes, 3 nays? Okay, motion carries. All right, we're on to Councilmember Albertson.
No new business, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Van.
No, unless we have other discussion, but no.
Right, what's the wish of the council?
We adjourn?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Okay, we're adjourned.